call the Pennington County Commission meeting for January 6, 2015 to order. We'll stand for a moment of silent reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Barb Landers.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The order of business today includes oaths of office and the election of officers. And as the incumbent chair, I am presiding until we have the election. And then whoever is elected chair will preside from there forward. The oaths of office are divided today into two parts. Circuit Judge presiding Jeff Davis will conduct the oaths of office for Commissioners Buskerud and Hadcock. Following that, Commissioner Farabee will have his ceremony, and if he chooses to introduce his officiant and that sort of thing, we'll turn it over to him. This time we'll call on Judge Davis to administer the oaths.
How's that? Position that way? Fine. Okay. Right hands. I state your name.
I, Ron Hadcock,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
The Constitution of the State of South Dakota.
Constitution of the United States,
State of South Dakota. And that I will faithfully,
And that I will faithfully,
impartially, and to the best of my ability,
and the best of my ability,
diligently,
diligently
dispose of all the duties
dispose of all the duties
of the office of Pennington County Commissioner,
of the office of Pennington County Commissioner,
District 3,
District 3,
District 5,
District 5, and render a true account
and render a true account
of all money,
of all money,
credits,
credits,
accounts,
accounts,
and property of any kind
and property of any kind
that shall come into my hands
that shall come into my hands
as such officer,
as such officer,
and pay over
and pay over
and deliver the same
and deliver the same
according to law.
according to law.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Look forward to working with you.
Commissioner Farabee, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have Mr. Jasper give me the oath, and my wife will hold the Bible for me. Microphone.
You wish to place your hand on the Bible, Mr. Farabee? Raise your right hand. Mr. Farabee, do you solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially,
and impartially,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of my said office
of the Pennington County Commission District 1,
and render a true account of all money,
and render a true account of all money,
credits,
credits,
accounts,
accounts,
and property of any kind
and property of any kind
that shall come into my hands
that shall come into my hands
as such officer,
as such officer,
and pay over and deliver
and pay over and deliver
the same according to law.
the same according to law.
And now we need you to sign the oath.
Thank you.
And as a notary, I will notarize your signature.
Mr. Chair, before I take one seat, may I have a few moments
Yes.
to acknowledge some folks and make a few comments? The mic is on. Everybody hear me all right?
Hold it closer.
Congratulations.
Thank you, George. Congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
Same to you, George.
First thing I'd like to say that I look forward to working with all four of you folks. Commissioner Hadcock and I have, over the years, as you well know, and I'll just be as frank as I can, have taken a lot of bad hits, a lot of bad press, and neither one of us are who a lot of people think we are. Deb and I have had a few discussions, and I think she's like I am, very, very much in favor of personal liberty, individual liberty, and private property rights. If that makes us radical, we're radicals. Those of us that believe in very, very limited government are called radicals, and so be it. We're radicals. This little bitty document that our founders wrote, that was a government that they intended for us. And I very much believe in that document, and I think all four commissioners believe in this document. It's time for us to give people individual liberty and their private property rights. That's why I ran. We need to put the serve back in servants. When I take this seat, and I haven't taken it yet, I'm going to be your servant, and I'm hoping my fellow commissioners will remember that we're servants. Citizens are in charge. Whatever we do, all our decisions should be based on those two guidelines, overarching guidelines: individual liberty and personal property rights, private property rights. We have lost that in this country, sadly. And the other thing that we should remember is we should be citizen-friendly. That's all of us in government. Elected, appointed, hired, we have responsibility to the citizens. There's not been near enough of that, being citizen-friendly. Most of you know how bad I've been treated at not this podium, but the one over there. And people say, how can you take that, George? It's an honor to be treated that way because the opposition won't take me on the law or the facts. They're down to smearing. And this young lady, what did you tell me, you were 32 or 33, or probably more like,
25.
She's been smeared. That's all in the past. Going forward, I think all four of us can work together for the people of Pennington County. My good buddy, Dan Richer, has been at the podium and been smeared. My good friend, Julie Fry, has been at this podium and been smeared. And others. And one of my dearest friends, Barbara Lindbergh, golly, she took heat 4 or 5 years ago. And we spent all kinds of time, volunteer time, being the opposition. How can a nation like this operate without opposition? This county has suppressed opposition. Hopefully we can change that. If I am assigned to a committee or assigned as a chairman of the committee, I want opposition. You don't learn anything from those that think like you. You learn from the opposition. My first foray into government was in 2002, when the government tried to impose its will upon us on on-site wastewater system. And a few have stepped forward, and one of my good friends, Gail Jorgensen, and another gal, her and her husband have since moved to Wyoming because of Pennington County in a lot of ways. Gail, thank you so much for being here today. We fought that battle, and this young fellow up here, Lindell, in 2002, stood up, and I can still remember, he looked at that ordinance, that great big thick document, and said, he looked at it in 3 ways. One, legal, functional, and as I recall, practical application. And I thank you for that effort in 2002. I knew the government would reload a big group, and they did in 2008. And despite one heck of an effort on our part, we lost that battle. And once again, Lindell stepped up. See who else I want to recognize. My really, really, really good buddy, Bob Mayer, has been with me through thick and thin. Thank you so much, Bob. And of course, Mr. Jasper. We have similar backgrounds. We neither one of us grew up with a spoon, silver spoon in our mouths. We worked our way through school. He went Air Force before I did, and then he got an engineering degree like I did. He does have a flaw. He went to that other school. He joined the crowd of one of the 2 oldest professions. And then Dan Richer, I already mentioned his name. He's taken a lot of heat, and hopefully the days of ridicule are over. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now I'll go up and join you folks. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next. Next item on the agenda is the election of officers. There are several approaches to doing this. We can do perhaps the normal standard of nominating. Nominations do not have to be seconded. Or we can do this entirely without nominations and simply voice vote or ballot, either one. And I think in the past there's been some objection to ballot voting, but at the same time it's legal. So I would ask the board to express themselves in terms of how they want the election conducted.
I wouldn't mind ballot, or sorry, I wouldn't mind ballot voting if you want to do on paper.
Okay.
That'd be my motion.
You have a motion to conduct the election by ballot. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. In terms of establishing the ballot, we can simply do that without nominations. Write down who you want for chair and pass it over to Karen, our clerk. And if that generates a majority in favor of someone, that's fine. Otherwise, we can do nominations and record them on ballot as well. So what's your wish?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we just go directly to balloting without nominations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to establish ballots without nominations. So Holly, if you will.
Need to vote on that.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Just put them up there. Lindell, you're the chair.
Thank you. Next, we have the election of the vice chair. Same approach.
Deb Hadcock is the vice chair.
Okay, we move on now to the adoption of the rules of order with exceptions. Holly, are you prepared to explore those with the commission? You're not.
Good morning, Commissioners. Holly Hennies, Commission Office Manager. What you have in front of you today is to adopt the most current version of Robert's Rules of Order, which we operate under, and then there are 2 exceptions under there. Robert's Rules does not allow the chairman of the board to vote, so in order for that district to have representation, we adopt an exception and allow the chair to vote on this board. And there's also an exception. Robert's Rules is very restrictive on reconsideration, and this allows notice to be given to be able to reconsider. So those are your 2 exceptions that you're asked to consider today.
So if we don't pass the one exception, Lindell can't vote?
In essence, if you're going to follow Robert's Rules to a T, yes, sir.
I'll second that. No, I'm kidding. Depends if he's on my side or the other. Do we get to choose at that time?
I make a motion to adopt the Robert's Rules of Order, the latest edition, with the exception of discussion of issues by the chair and the chair voting, to allow both of those.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I would comment that in the absence of one commissioner, if the chair could not vote, there would be some items that could not be passed that would require 4 votes. And in addition to that, I happen to strongly believe that since we're elected by districts, restricting the chair would be denying 1/5 of the population representation in the decision-making. So with that, we do have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
I'll also make a motion to adopt our policy regarding reconsideration of action taken by the board. That seems to have worked pretty well in the past, so that'd be my motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is establishing the commissioner's salary.
I make a motion that we maintain the salary that we've had the last year or 2 or whatever it's been.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to maintain the salaries as in the past year. Is that
That's
your
correct.
motion?
I think it's
$1,250 a month.
correct.
Any further remarks? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I guess I'm the only one who wants to get paid.
Aye, too.
We'll try that again. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is to review and approve the agenda. Holly?
Commissioners, I would like to respectfully request that we continue item number 18 to the next commission meeting.
Okay, item 18. Any other agenda items? If not, we have a
Sorry.
motion.
Is this for 12, 13, some of those that were,
No, we are not on consent calendar
oh,
yet.
I apologize. Okay. Thank you, Holly.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda
Agenda.
as written,
As
there a second?
amended.
as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended with item 18 removed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda.
For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items. Approve the minutes from the regular meeting of December 16th, 2014. Approval of the vouchers in the amount of $2,327,992.06. Approval of the resolution for the Drug-Free Workplace Act certification for a public entity for 2015. Number 12 is approval of the commission meeting dates for 2015. Number 13 is to designate the Rapid City Journal, the Pennington County Current, and the Hill City Prevailer as the 3 official legal newspapers for Pennington County for 2015. Number 14 is approval of the 2015 poll worker salaries as submitted by the Auditor's Office. Number 15 is approval of the Memorandum of Understanding, the Snow Exchange Agreement with the City of Rapid City, as submitted by the Highway Department. Number 16 is approval of the Chairman's signature on the Employee Assistance Agreement with Behavior Management Systems, as submitted by the Human Resource Director. And finally, number 17 is approval of the request to hold raffles in 2015 by the Western RC&D Association. Commissioners, at this time, I would like to request that you poll number 11 for me.
Number 11 has been requested to remove. Did you want that entirely removed from the agenda or
From the consent calendar.
from the consent calendar? Are there any other items that anyone wishes to remove from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, 9, 10, and 13.
9, 10, and 13.
And Mr. Chair, 12 and 17, please.
12 and 17. Consent agenda is disappearing quickly. Any other items? So that leaves us 14, 15, and 16 as items on the consent agenda. Any other people wishing to remove any of the other remaining 3? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda with the exceptions of items 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 17.
Second.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 9.
I asked for that one to be removed for the same reason that Commissioner Buskerud removed it 4 years ago. And I certainly agree with what he did 4 years ago, and obviously I wasn't part of the minutes, these minutes, as he wasn't 4 years ago, so that's the reason I asked for it to be removed. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve number 9, the minutes of last meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And I would point out that Commissioner Farabee and Commissioner Hadcock were not involved in that meeting. So their voting to do so, to approve of them, would sort of be redundant, I think. So,
Mr. Chairman, I would agree that I did that last first year I was on here, that it didn't seem right to me to be approving minutes when you weren't here. And of course, you know, I'm sure if the auditor was here, she would point out that we're really not approving the minutes. We are, they're her minutes, so we're acknowledging the minutes, basically.
and that they're placed on record.
Can we include 9 and 10 together for me and George abstaining since we weren't here for both of those? Can we put them
That
together?
would be appropriate, yeah.
Is that okay with you, George?
I have no problem if you want to handle them together. If the motion would be 9 and 10, you can vote.
I'll add that to my motion, 9 and 10.
Thank you.
Second, I'll approve.
Okay,
For
so
the
we,
audience, 10 is the approval of the vouchers, kind of the same thing.
so 9 and 10 is your motion,
Yes.
and that's the second as well. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 9 and 10 are approved. Number 11.
Number 11, the simple reason that I removed this is I just wanted to note a name change on item number 9 in our address list. The Western South Dakota Juvenile Services Center, it's also called the Life Enrichment Center with the change in the Adams Street facility. So I just wanted you to notate that there was a name change, and we'll keep the Adams Street facility on the list until we decide to dispose of it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the 2015 resolution for a drug-free workplace.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 11. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 12.
Number 12, I pulled off because when I ran, and I think other people ran, we just have morning meetings, and I would like to look into having maybe 1 month being night meetings. So I don't know if that means we just approve the agenda, or I just come back with some type of resolution or something that brings forward maybe a proposal for having 1 night meeting a month and 1 day meeting a month. So I don't know if the chair has some suggestion for me, that might help.
Well, my reaction would be that the dates would not change, the time of day would.
Thank you, sir.
And at this point, the question is approving the dates.
Thank you. So I could bring that back at a later date if I wanted to make changes for night meetings, but they'd all be the same dates.
That would be my opinion anyway.
If we did that, if I could have suggestions of the board of what their opinion might be, or staff, any suggestions at this point would be appreciated.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the dates?
Well, Mr. Chair, if I could, while we're on that discussion, would it be fair to ask for a show of hands of those folks that are currently here as to how they'd feel about a night meeting? Or would that be out of order?
I appreciate what you're saying, but in terms of the motion itself and the issue itself, it's the dates, not the time.
I understand, but I was thinking, while we have this kind of a crowd, it might get a sample anyway, but go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the dates?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the dates for the county commission meetings as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item 13.
Item 13, this is the meeting of the year that you need to designate 3 legal newspapers for Pennington County to publish all of our legal notices in. I know Commissioner Fairby pulled it and wants to make a statement, but I also want to let the board know that the Native Sun News is here to present to you and speak to you as well about designating them as one as well. So,
Holly, are you aware of any other representation from the other?
all the entities have been notified that they should be here.
Okay.
Don's here.
So, in terms of making presentations, Native Son, do you wish to go first?
Good morning. Congratulations for being sworn in. I hope you guys do what you usually do, which is everything best. I represent Native Sun News. My name is Jackie Gallego. My husband and I have owned the paper. We're going on to our 7th year, starting in April. And what we want to do is to be part of Pennington County for the Native American readers of our publication. This is one of the things that I think is overlooked when it comes to reaching out to a diverse market. And I know in the past, you've always had the same 3 legal publications, and I've briefly talked to Nancy about possibly taking us on as a 4th identity to get some of the things that we haven't gotten in the past. Like 2 years ago, the commission gave us the places to vote and to register, and we got it a few years back. We didn't get it this last year. My bad. I should have been knocking on doors. That to let Native Americans know where to go and vote so that they know what the issues are. This is something that they don't really read in the other publications. We do have circulation in Wall. We have 5 different drops that we do in that area. Hill City, not as strong, but we have over 800 papers here in Rapid City that is handed out or sold or at different places to purchase. We are growing as far as subscribers, and we're also growing with regional businesses like Menards and Walmart, things that are being affected by the locals here that use the services here in Rapid City. So what I'd like to see is us to be able to have part of the minutes, or at least the things that would influence what would happen for voting rights. Things that are doing the city count, or the, sorry, not city, county commissioners here on what would happen on, say, the police department, the fire department, the snow removal, things that are going to affect the lives of the 10,000 plus Native Americans that are here. So that's why I'm here.
Do any of the commissioners have questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Do you get our notices for jobs or anything like that?
No.
Okay, all right.
And when we, as you see, I put a newspaper in your publication, want them to show you that we do have the Rapid City minutes for the city in here that we will start doing in January. With that, we have the paper that had, of course, the shooting, which is something that has happened, and we would like to see more things happen to make it a better place to do. I know we've had quiet marches, walks, things like that. I'm not here to make this about race. I'm not here to make this about what needs to be fixed, although it would be nice to be able to bridge out to educate more of our readers, which do read our publication. One of the things that my husband and I have talked about, when you're looking for Native Americans to come to work on the police department or the fire department, when those ads are put into the Rapid City Journal, they don't particularly look at that because they think they're only looking for white people or not native to apply for those jobs. So I think if we were to get more of those job applications in our publication so that they would know that they are reaching out and they are wanted to be part of this community, that we would see a diverse market breakdown that would become more conducive to a friendlier Rapid City.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, we do have, our budget right now for 2014 was $42,363. The budget for this year is $65,000. Do we have room in there to put some of the minutes and some of the stuff from County Commission into the Native Sun News, since we do, last year we spent $42,000. And I think more publications and the more people we hit and the diversity that this paper hits, I think will be beneficial to the County Commission.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I kind of halfway agree with Deb. I'm not so sure about minutes, but I am impressed with a couple things you said. One of them was EEO opportunities and jobs. I think we need probably to do that. And the other is voting precincts and things like that. I think they're 2 very important things that we need to do. And I don't know how much, I'm firm believer that we need to keep the 3 papers we have, but I sure wouldn't mind doing some checking and putting some of those things in the paper. I think they're very important, and we need to do that. That's my opinion.
Any other comments?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, do you have a proposal for us of the cost, or do we have to work with her? Does maybe Holly could help, or? Janet, do you have some help here?
My question would be to Holly, does that include the publication for every office in the county? Because if you designate a fourth newspaper, and I'm not saying I'm against it,
That's okay.
then you're going to have to also do all your delinquent notices and stuff in that newspaper also, I'm sure. I would defer to Jay on that, but.
And my thought was probably to pass the motion on our 3 legal newspapers today and to have Jay and Holly do some work on, not another legal newspaper. I don't think we can do that, but I don't know if there's anything against putting some advertising in there about voting and jobs. I think we can do that.
That's a step.
That'd be my opinion, and I would, that'd be the line I would go down if it was my decision.
Okay, Jay?
KJ Peterson, Chief Deputy Auditor. I think that the thing that we need to be clear on is what Janet pointed out. If we don't designate them completely as a legal, fourth legal paper, we have lots of departments. They all do different advertising and notices, and so we need to be very clear to the departments on what would and what would not be going there, so that we didn't get ourselves in a bind with that kind of information. When it comes to the auditor's office, of course, key publications out of our office are voting, and it's obvious that that's a really important issue that has come to light over the years with the possibility of an additional paper. Will we be able to absorb the costs? Depends on what they are. They vary from the Journal to the Hill City and wallpaper. So you hope for the best in being able to absorb it. And it's probably going to work itself out okay. I think the important thing is because we don't just flat make it a fourth newspaper, where does the picking and choosing get outlined so that Holly, our office, any office that does publications is clear. Do I do this one? Do I not do that one? Or do I do all of them from the auditor's office? None of them from planning. Do you see what I'm saying?
Thank you. I appreciate your comments, Ms. KJ, but I don't see any of the other 3 papers here either.
They're here.
Are they here?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't know they were here or they were going to speak on their behalf about a representative, so I apologize for that. But if we can't make it a legal newspaper, I would at least like to put some advertising in some things so they know about county commission and what our business is. So I appreciate your comments, Ms. KJ.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, I certainly agree with what Commissioner Buskard said about openings and election information, and Nancy as well. That yes, that if that's legal, and I guess that's why we have legal staff to check that through. And you see, common sense says that we ought to be able to do something like that. But of course, the law is the law, and so we do abide in. While I have the microphone, the reason I pull it off is over the years I've seen a decline in the amount of news reporting, quote unquote. And I don't see the wallpaper, but on a rare occasion, but I do see the Hill City paper and the Rapid City Journal, and the only reason for my pulling it off, like I say, was to ask if we can get some more news coverage.
Any other comments?
That would be something that if, as a business person, and we were looking at having you actually place advertising in the publication, that gives us more revenue to buy or to not buy, but to hire more writers. Right now, we have 2 excellent people that we've just brought aboard that have been covering things down at the courthouse and, not the courthouse, sorry, the city and things like that. Right now, we have an intern that we were promised that was supposed to be coming aboard for one of the colleges out of New York that is going to be getting us some interns during the summer months that we can take from the reservations so that we can get more coverage And that's something that our newspaper has been doing. Now that we have been kind of a little bit of competition with the Rapid City Journal, Rapid City Journal is now carrying more Native American news stories than they have in the past. So that is something that we are breaking down walls slowly, but it's one of those that we would like the opportunity to be able to say that, yes, we can get more coverage.
Okay. Holly, do we, or KJ, someone, is it required that we take an action today that designates these?
Statute reads at its regular meeting in January of each year, the Board of Commissioners shall designate 3 legal newspapers.
And I guess one of the things that, listening to this discussion, I'm thinking that we're talking about, at least some of us, about a modified involvement on the part of the county, and whether or not that's legal or not. And as we listen to what's been said, picking and choosing those items that the county would come to your newspaper with would be a planning effort that would be culminated sometime later after people had reviewed the thing and found it acceptable and so on. Is that a legal possibility?
That would be my suggestion, Mr. Chair, is to designate 3, and we can put together a proposal and come back in front of the board. So, as KJ said, we have clear direction.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, since the statute doesn't say first meeting in January, it just says in January, I suppose we'd have the discretion to wait until next meeting to make that decision.
Well, Mr. Chairman, frankly, I don't see any reason to postpone it. I'm going to make a motion to have the Pennington County Current, Hill City Prevailer, and Rapid City Journal as our 3 legal newspapers, and have the state's attorney and Holly and Jackie review on, take a look at what we want to put in there, what we are allowed to put in there, and what it's going to cost us. And with the view, and I know this is getting to be a pretty long motion, but with the view toward throwing some money and information their way for their publication, for their constituents. And I think that's a good thing. It's time we do that.
I'll second.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would anyone care to have the motion repeated?
And talk slower.
I'm sure Karen has it all down.
I want to thank all of you for seriously listening to what I have been bringing to this table today. That this is something that I think is doable. It's a start. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. We just want to be included. I thank you much.
Thank you for being here. Any other discussion on the motion? If not, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is item 17.
That was the raffle? Am I correct?
Yep.
I just had a question. I've never heard of this company, and I was just wondering if they had any financials or anything like that that show where the money's going, because usually when I was a city council person, we had a budget and where the cash flow was going, and I know it's just raffles in a sense, but it's nice to know that the company or this nonprofit is on the up and up. Is there someone here to represent on any of this?
I don't see Joe here. I don't see him here.
Perhaps I can offer a little insight. The RC&D is Resource Conservation and Development. That's what that acronym or those letters stand for. And we have a local unit here that embraces several counties in the Black Hills, including Pennington. And one of the principal involvements at this time is the pine bark beetle suppressant effort, and that's coordinated through our C&D. And it's my understanding that they're having a convention of similar groups from western states coming here to Rapid City, and I think it's this month. And they're a self-sustaining group, and I think this request represents the region, not just the local RC&D.
I appreciate that, sir. I will vote for this today, but in the future, it's kind of nice to see the financials of a company that's doing raffles or what they're doing and making sure that, you know, the money's going to where it's supposed to, and it has a categorized financial sheet to look at, because sometimes that's a lot easier to say, go ahead, or, you know, to make sure that company is what it is.
Just as a question, do we have an ordinance, a process that would need to be amended to take care of her request?
We do not have an established policy, and it's on my to-do list. One piece to add, though, Commissioner Hadcock, this gentleman has been told that he is unable to do this raffle for their convention. Statute requires 30 days notice, and he has already missed that deadline. So I don't see any sense of urgency for this to be approved today if the board would want to request additional information.
I guess on the first issue, I would like to work with, if that's okay with Holly, with a policy, so we do kind of can see more information on raffles or bingos or anything people do. I mean, that seems silly sometimes, but there is some problems with some corporations or entities, nonprofits, with some of this stuff. So, but I'd be willing to, well, it's not going to matter if we approve it today because they can't do it, right?
Well, this is for the raffles for 2015, so if you want to...
Just January doesn't count.
You can't do it for convention in January.
And then maybe Lindell, I can just call him and ask for those financials after this, and I appreciate that, sir.
So, and Mr. Chair, just as a point of interest, we have very, very few of these. So as we set up a process, I would hope we keep it simple, since we might get 1 or 2 requests a year.
Yeah, we do get very few, and we have a blanket policy that it's already approved for churches and volunteer fire departments, which cuts down on the numbers that you guys see, but we'll definitely include that in there.
Simple is good. Thank you, Ms. Nancy.
Any other discussion? What's your wish?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and item 19, a lien release request. Just remind you that item 18 was pulled, and I will recuse myself from this particular item. So, Deb, you are vice chair, if you'll preside, please.
So this is 19 as a lien request for JS. Do we have a motion? Or, I'm sorry, discussion?
Usually give her the opportunity to visit with us.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Ma'am,
Good morning.
sorry.
Congratulations to the Board of Commissioners. And I have come here to ask for the commissioners to release the lien against me, and I think it's about $1,300. And these were for services that I had received for a period approximately of about 6-7 years from 1988 until 1995, and I think one in 1998. In 1988, my son was killed in a car crash, and I took it very, very badly. And for 6-7 years, I was in intensive therapy for grief and in and out of the hospital, and my employment was sporadic, to say the least. And so I had accrued this bill on and off with the Pennington County Social Services. And so I became aware of this a couple of weeks ago because I'm in the process of buying a house. It's a house that comes through a low-income program, and I'm currently on Section 8. So the house payment is nearly the same, as low as my house payment, so I know I can do that. However, I have been saving for a down payment and all of this for the last 1.5 years, and then USDA applied for the title and found out that I had this lien. So then when I came in, I paid $120 on it right away, and I thought that's all there was, but then found out that there was more. And I have to have a clear title. I have to have this paid or released before I can get clear title, and my closing is on the 15th, but they need to know before the 10th. So that's why I am here, to ask you to release this lien against me today. Oh, and by the way, excuse me. By the way, Lindell has excused himself from voting because I work for a nonprofit here in town who is in financial jeopardy at this point and does not have money to pay me. So I am a volunteer as an executive director until they can come into some money to pay someone to do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion from the board, any questions? Is there a motion?
I really hate this. These are always difficult. And it's never that we're not unsympathetic to your plight. But what happens is that when we forgive this sort of thing, all the taxpayers pay for it. And that is always a conundrum to me because we're responsible for helping each other out. I'm glad we could do it to help you, but when you get that help, it is with the idea that you will pay us back. And we take $10 a month. And so it's difficult for me to approve these. We have not been doing it in the past.
Madam Chair, the one question I would have for the young lady is, how long have you been in the process of acquiring a house?
About 1.5 years.
Madam Chair, I move to deny.
Good morning, this is Holly from the.
There's a motion by Mr. Farabee to deny. Is there a second?
A little bit behind schedule.
I'll second it.
Okay to join us?
Second by Nancy. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, yeah, one moment.
These are always tough.
I
We
know.
will move to item 20. Is there anyone here
Okay.
representing?
Commissioners, this applicant is by phone today. Okay, ma'am, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you've joined the room with the Board of Commissioners. Would you please state what you're requesting of them?
I am the applicant, and the outstanding lien holder is mine of $1,283.16. I am totally disabled and am not able to pay this money back. I receive $747 per month from SSI benefits. Due to my disability, I am not unable to work. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Commissioner Nancy Trotwin. I am curious why you have decided to apply. Do you have a specific reason? Is there something happening in your life that requires you to get this lien released?
I didn't understand that.
Are you doing something like purchasing a home?
No, no ma'am.
Okay. So you,
I own nothing.
so,
I don't own a car either.
so what prompted you to apply for this?
The lien hold on my self.
The what?
The lien hold on myself.
And so have you had somebody trying to collect from you? What, I'm trying to figure out why you decided to go forward with this, what the reason was.
The county did.
Ma'am, did you get contacted by collections?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Can someone tell me the process since I'm new at this? I mean, I understand a lien, but thank you, Ms. KJ.
Actually, I'm going to ask Karen to jump in here because she is the staff person in our office who spends very much of her time working on the liens, working with credit collections. We have an agreement with them where at certain times in each year, certain amounts and names are turned over depending on their age. Am I correct on the age thing? And from there, credit collections works these outstanding debts for us. And we've seen quite a successful collection rate, even with the amount that we pay them for their commission. I would guess that we're somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000 a month in collections that credit collection does. I'm guessing that this woman has been turned over to them and they have contacted her, and that's her reasoning for requesting the release at this time. Erin, anything you want to add?
No, you did a good job. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, I know we have millions of dollars out there. Millions of dollars. It would scare you. Does that count anything in looking at our financials for bonding or anything? Is that counted, not counted?
We don't actually record the outstanding liens on our financials. We did years ago, and it was a big number in my recollection back in that late 80s or early 90s when we actually took it off. It was close to 30 million. I would hesitate to say what it is today, almost 30 years later. Yeah. So no, it doesn't come into play with the review of the financials.
Mr. Chairman, in my 4 years here, I've turned down more of these than I've ever approved. I see no way we're ever going to collect any money on this. I'm going to make a motion to...
No, you're not. Now you can.
I'll make a motion to release this lien on this lady. It's Christmas.
Is there a second?
They don't have the spirit.
Mr. Chair,
Motion died for lack of a second.
Mr. Chair, in the past, and it doesn't always have to be this way, but it seemed like a good way to handle it. What we have done is we have removed these kinds of situations from the collection process with the understanding that if they have $10, they send it to us. I understand that we don't very often get that, but I also don't like to see people feeling harassed, and generally that's what happens when they come to us with this kind of application, whether they are or not. We must continue to attempt to recover as much as we can. And I guess my hope would be that she at some point, if she had $10, would send it to us. We're not saying it has to be a lot of money, but I personally cannot support forgiving this and not forgiving the other one. It seems like that's not being equally fair.
Any other comments?
Yes, so how do you remove it from the book so they don't harass her, but she still owes the money? Is that possible?
Sure.
I guess I was going to ask if you do nothing with it.
It's coded in the system that it doesn't go back to CCB.
Okay, so can you make a motion to that, or
And Mr.
can I
Chair,
make a motion to that? Okay, sorry, George.
Commissioner Fairby.
I concur with Commissioner Troutman's comments.
So, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we remove this particular lien from collection and encourage the person who has the lien to pay us whatever they can as soon as possible.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, we have a second. Got pretty close to what you were seeking.
No, it's not close.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Does the applicant have anything to say?
Ma'am, do you understand that they've made a motion to deny? Do you have any other comments you want to make to the board?
Then I can't pay it.
You might want to explain.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there are no further remarks, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is item 21. Items from the sheriff.
Morning, Kevin Tone, Pennington County Sheriff, and congratulations to our two new commissioners and our re-elected Commissioner Buskerud. Look forward to working with you through the rest of your term. I want to give you a little background in terms of how this arrived here at the commission, and I did a brief memo just to get some information to you before the committee meeting. But over the last couple of years, our medical costs at the jail have been going up just like everybody else's medical costs. So we're trying to figure out how to deal with them as efficiently as we can, but still have a good and acceptable standard of care for those that we're responsible for every day. And we worked with Barry Tice from Health and Human Services because the jail medical is actually, part of that's under his budget, part of it's under our budget. And we also brought in a medical consultant that has worked with other jails in South Dakota and jails around the country as to how we can streamline our processes and make them more efficient. And then we also went to the compensation committee, made them aware of what we were talking about in terms of, these are anomalies. These nurse practitioner and the doctor don't fit anywhere on our pay scale. So rather than try and take a pay scale and stretch it out to make them fit, that didn't seem to make sense. So we talked to the compensation committee about it, and then KJ Peterson from the auditor's office and Nick Stroot, county HR, we came to a consensus as to how to best slay this, and laid out a proposed motion in the memo that you have. And I do want to stress, overall, this is a net savings for our budget. We're not asking for any additional FTEs, and we're not asking for any additional budget dollars. And I think more importantly, it's going to provide us a more consistent level of care in our correctional facilities that we're responsible for. So with that, I'll certainly stand for any questions you may have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Do you really mean that the nurse practitioner at $10,000, $10,400 per month, part-time, benefited?
That's correct.
That's $120,000 a year,
Be about 20,
part-time?
it'd be about 24 to 30 hours a week. It's going to vary. And that's actually saving us $20 an hour from what we were paying previously.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
What is the net savings by chance, Kevin?
Yeah, you and I spoke about this before, and I don't have an exact number. I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15,000. I'll be conservative. But the other piece in here that is less tangible, if you will, is the savings that we have in staff time. I'm not taking as many people out of the facility. We're not transporting as many, so we save staff time there. We don't have security risks with potential escapes. And so there's a significant staff savings in time, both in our transport division and in our nursing staff. So we take people out to, whether it's IHS or REPSI Regional, then they come back with what we get inconsistent levels of, or types of treatment in terms of a standard of care, and then we have to manage that with our nursing staff and again with our transport staff. So there's additional savings there, and I have a spreadsheet that I did a couple of years ago. It's dated now, but some of the changes we're looking at then that are consistent with this, we were hoping we could save somewhere $200,000-300,000 in staff time and administrative time with nurses in terms of managing all the different prescriptions that come in when they go to outside facilities.
So if we hire them at the $4,200 per month, $10,400 per month, it has a net savings just because basically efficiency?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I think efficiency is important, but I also think the consistency of care, which has been somewhat of an issue depending on where we were having to take them for treatment. And so I think that's important for us in a liability sense.
If I may, Mr. Chair, this will provide a consistent standard of care in all of our facilities, from city county, which has detox, to the juvenile services center, into the jail. And I haven't ran the numbers this year, but the previous year, we had about 650 people a day in custody, and most people in Pennington County don't realize that. It's a large number, and frankly, it's a high needs population.
Any other? Mr. Fairby.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I guess I probably about as out of touch with the marketplace as Commissioner Buskard seems to be. But $10,400, and so the public knows, this memo we have for us says that the motion is to hire a physician at $4,200 per month, part-time, non-benefited, and nurse practitioner at $10,400 per month, part-time, benefited. And it's too bad. There is a public packet around here, but stuff like this, in the future, I'd like to see us have this up on the view graph someplace so the public can see what we're talking about.
Commissioner Fairby, there is a public packet in this room
Yeah,
every meeting.
Understand. Well, what I'm saying is very few people see it, so it's hard to access that thing is what I'm saying. But anyway, I'm with Commissioner Buskard. I guess we're just out of touch, Ron. That seems excessive to me.
That wouldn't be the first time, George.
And Mr. Chairman, I guess I just want to reassure the commission that we didn't do this on a whim. We've looked at this for a couple of years. We brought in an outside consultant. We've worked with our own people internally, and I know it's a lot of money, but again, for all the reasons I said before, I think it makes sense, and it's good for our facilities and the people that we're responsible for.
So at this time, we're already paying basically this, but you're now going to save us through efficiency and consistency 10 to 15,000. So we are, either way, we're still paying it. We're just going to save money now by making it with those two options with it. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, and I have no problem. I mean, I'm all for saving money. If this saves money, great. But, at 30 hours a week, that's $70 an hour. Boy, I can't imagine that you can't get a nurse for less than that. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe. I guess when I go to the doctor, I pay through the nose, so.
And just one correction, it's a nurse practitioner, it's a mid-level, not a nurse. There's a difference, but.
Great.
I'll make a motion to approve creating medical position for the physician and the nurse practitioner and establish wages.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd ask of the sheriff, now this person, these are two real people. These are not just positions that you're going to fill. These are people in the position now.
You may respond.
Well, we're transitioning, so the current medical director will be replaced by this medical director, and then the nurse practitioner will be replacing the current nurse practitioners. And one thing that we haven't talked about that I think is worth mentioning is, you know, currently our medical director is paid on contract, so that's how these were paid before, and the mid-levels were paid on contract. So we're bringing them in as, quote, employees, and what that does for us, and our exiting medical director pointed this out to us, is he has his own liability coverage, we have our liability coverage, and we get sued periodically in our correctional facilities from stuff from toilets being too loud to medical complaints, whatever. And currently, with us having two different attorneys, we could potentially end up in an adversarial relationship with our medical director, because his attorneys, his insurance company would have one opinion of what we did or didn't do. Our insurance company, our attorneys may have a different opinion. This way we're bringing them in as, quote, employees or under the umbrella of our liability insurance, and we avoid that adversarial relationship. We've talked to the risk pool. They're covered for this year. There's a question mark going into next year we're trying to resolve with their underwriter. But this eliminates that inherent conflict that exists when they're contract employees, and I think that's beneficial to the county as well. And I didn't mention that in the beginning, but.
And Mr. Chair, if I have a follow-up. Once these two people are brought on, then this is the floor. So from here on forward, the taxpayer is going to see, if anything, an increase in the funding for these two positions. It's pretty hard to go backwards, is what I'm saying.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I mean, generally that's true. I mean, if down the road we find we can do it better or cheaper, we'll do it better than cheaper.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Belated aye. I agree with Commissioner Buskerud.
I thought you already voted.
So let's do a roll call just to make sure
Okay.
we
Thank you.
get this correct.
Buskerud?
No.
Farabee?
No.
Adcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
3-2.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is from the state's attorney.
Good morning, Jay Alderin with the State's Attorney's Office. Congratulations, Commissioner Farabee and Hadcock and Buskerud. Looking forward to working with you in this next year. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. What this is, kind of a housekeeping measure, and at least for Commissioner Farabee and Hadcock, who may not have had a lot of involvement in this or experience with it. As you know, we've created, 4 entities have created the Rushmore Regional Railroad Authority, and that would be Pennington County as what's called a member subdivision under state law, and also the city of Wall, Box Elder, and Rapid City. So there's 4 of us. And by statute, all 4 are to have representatives that represent those entities for the sole purpose of electing commissioners of the authority. Like yourself, it's the same term, commissioners. The commissioners of the Railroad Authority, who are elected by the representatives, are the governance body for that railroad authority. And recently, with Commissioner Davis having resigned and left office, he resigned also from the railroad authority. So he was a primary representative, and Pennington County, it was agreed of all the entities that authorized the formation of the authority, Pennington County gets 2 primary representatives and 2 alternates. All the other entities, the 3 cities, get 1 primary and 1 alternate. They're all the same. The only thing that's changed now is that Commissioner Davis is no longer a primary representative, and as you may remember at our last meeting, this body appointed Commissioner Troutman to take his place as a primary representative, which opened up Commissioner Troutman's position as an alternate at the time. So I say all of that to say this, what we're here today is to simply have the 5 of you appoint a new alternate representative for Pennington County. Right now, Commissioner Peterson is a primary, Commissioner Troutman is a primary, Commissioner Buskerud is an alternate. So if I do my math correctly, it's going to have to be either Commissioner Farabee or Hadcock will be the new
Looks like
alternate.
Farabee. I'll make a motion for it to be George Farabee for the alternate.
I'll second that.
I'd make a substitute motion. Do I have a second? Oh.
Did you want your substitute motion seconded?
Well.
You know,
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
after we vote for this, I do have some comments about the authority that I would like to have a few minutes for, if I could, please.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, George.
So, Mr. Chair, one of the things that, I don't know, this kind of brings to a point for me again is the fact that we're a fairly small body. And so really we have 4 commissioners tied up on the Rushmore Regional Rail Authority. And at the time that we formed this, we wanted it to be direct representation from the government entities that are a part of the Rail Authority. But perhaps it is, maybe it's worth a thought to see if we should look at finding those folks, because there are several very qualified people who are very informed about railroads and so on in our community. Perhaps we should look at doing something like having a citizen representation alongside one commissioner from the county. It just seems like there's a lot of work that the commission will be involved in, and there's 4 of us taking it, and every time we go, we're going to, I mean, if we all 4 go, we're going to be having to public notice the meeting. We will anyway, but, you know, it just takes on a different flavor when you have the 4 of us. So I thought it might be worth it to bring up some thoughts on whether or not we should look at changing the original way that we set this up so that we would have someone, we have someone who represents us from the county on the library board. It's not a new thing, but perhaps with us and the size of our group, I think that is a big deal to us. We could maybe have a commissioner and an alternate commissioner, and then look towards some qualified people from the county and be citizens serving on it. Just a thought to throw out.
Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you. If I can address some of those questions generally. The alternates are not expected or intended to attend meetings. And neither are the representatives, period. The representatives will only be called on to convene when there's a vacancy on the Railroad Commission. That's the only time they're called to do anything. As far as the commissioners go, there are no alternate commissioners, and there's no authorization for that in statute. So Pennington County, the commissioners that are elected by all of the representatives, the 2 from Pennington County, are the only 2 that would ever attend railroad meetings or ever be asked to. I suppose that others could, but it'd never be expected that you would have more than the 2 Pennington County representatives. And finally, I guess, I'm working with Holly. We'll have our first official meeting of the Railroad Authority, hopefully this month or maybe February. And at that meeting, one of the agenda items will be to discuss this very topic, amongst other things, with the idea being that if there is a desire to do that, that would have to come back to all of the member subdivisions to amend our current agreement. Because right now, our current agreement doesn't allow for a non-elected governing official to sit as a commissioner. So we could certainly do that, and that could be a recommendation, and then it would have to go back to all four entities, and I think they'd probably have to pass a resolution agreeing to amend that accordingly. So those are all things we'll be looking at, but I just wanted to the extent I clarify some of those issues.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Next item is item 23. Items from the treasurer. Start with A, then go to B and C.
Good morning, Janet Saylor, Pennington County Treasurer. Congratulations, Commissioner Farabee, Commissioner Buskerud, and Commissioner Hadcock. First of all on the agenda is our designation of banks. Pursuant to SDCL 7/2013, I am respectfully requesting from the Board of Commissioners that you designate Wells Fargo Bank of South Dakota and First Interstate Bank as the primary active depositories for Pennington County. We may utilize other financial institutions for short-term investments throughout the rest of the year. But according to law, this has to be a motion by the commissioners every year in January.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Our next item on the agenda is the Public Liability Quarterly Report. I check every month on the website for the South Dakota Legislative Audit and make sure that the banks that we are doing business with have the proper amount of pledged collateral. The reports are updated semi-annually by legislative audit, and if any time a bank would fall below the collateralized amount according to law, Pennington County at that point will cease to do business with them until at that time they meet the necessary requirements. All the banks in this area that we have done business with, there is not one that has ever been on this list. They've all been collateralized.
I'll make a motion to recognize the treasurer's report on the public liability of our banks. Is that what you wanted, Janet?
Yes.
Nothing else needed, is there?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The last thing on the agenda that I have is pursuant to SDCL 10/22/31. On the first Tuesday in January, the treasurer must present to the Board of Commissioners a list of all delinquent mobile home taxes as of December 31st of the preceding year. That list was presented to you this morning because it had to be run after 5 o'clock on December 31st. And the packets already had to be sent out to Holly for your packets. There are 583 warrants for a total amount of taxes due of $128,961.90. Advertising costs are $753, and penalties at this point are $279. Yesterday, out of these 583 warrants, we turned over 576 warrants to the Pennington County Treasurer's Office to proceed with the collecting of these warrants as requested by law. So I need a motion for from the commissioners to accept my list as of December 31st, 2014.
Ms. Janet, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can you explain for me and the general public, the warrants are for, how long are they delinquent, some of the process in which this comes to pass?
Commissioner Hadcock, they are for registered mobile homes that would have been registered in 2014, and they're for all mobile homes that were building on lease site that they were pulled off. They were probably on somebody's property. I own a mobile home and I own the property, but they're two separate things. So the mobile home comes off by law and has to become a warrant. Or it's a building and lease site. It could be a cabin up in the hills and they haven't been paid, or a utility.
Thank you for that explanation, Ms. Janet. Also, I'd like to take a minute to recognize Janet and her employees for all their hard work, because this is a lot of work. So I appreciate that, Ms. Janet.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the delinquent mobile homes from the treasurer's office.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 24, Building and Grounds Certification of Substantial Completion.
Good morning. Mike Cool, Construction Project Manager. Construction work on the administration building was substantially complete on September 15th of 2014. Substantial completion in contract terms is the stage in the progress of work when the work or designated portion is sufficiently complete in accordance with the contract documents so that the owner can occupy or utilize the work for its intended purpose. On September 15th, the construction work by Skull Construction was substantially complete. On the 16th is when our contracts began for installation of our furniture and other equipment within the building. So we did take possession and begin utilizing the building for our purposes at that time. I'm here today seeking Commission's authorization for the chair's signature on a certificate of substantial completion, which identifies that day as the day of substantial completion. This does not mean that the building is complete in terms of the contract. It just indicates that significant construction is completed on the building. Additional punch list items and stuff may be required for work to be done, and we had withheld $600,000 in that regard. We are this month releasing $450,000 of that, I believe, and still holding $150,000. Any concerns that in regard to why we are holding that money have been addressed. So the remaining amount is just to cover any items that we have not identified yet that need to be completed.
Any questions for Mike?
I have a couple. Substantially complete sounds like it's not done, and we're going to release basically the certificate or their bonding, which it says contractor will complete or correct the work on the list items attached hereto within 75 days from the above date of substantial completion. Is that substantial completion starting today or September 15th?
It would be September 15th. This is a more of a formality in terms of designating this day, in terms of releasing their certificate, and also identifies it for our insurance company. Our insurance did take over though on the 16th.
So you have $150,000 left for anything you're keeping that
That would be in
repaired,
regard
or?
to anything that was on the punch list that we haven't been able to verify as being complete. We're still doing some of that work, but we are holding on to some amount of money. That is really the driving factor in ensuring that we get work completed.
So it's not like a 2-year warranty or anything after that?
We generally get a 1-year warranty on any construction project after completion.
Okay, and there's no bond left except for the $150,000 after that?
That's correct. Any contractor is, they are bound still, even if they had not completed the work, that if there is something identified later that they need to, they are still responsible for that work. Now, without having money after that period of time, at some period of time, that would require some maybe perhaps court action to get that done, but there is still a requirement that they correct anything that was not done to specification at completion.
Have you had problems in the past with people completing or having to go back and go after any contractors? Because this is a pretty big building, only to leave about $150,000 in that and then have a 75-day warranty starting already in September 15th. So how many days left?
Well, that is not the warranty. The warranty is a year, and technically it's not really a warranty. We allow them the opportunity before we take any action through the courts or anything to come back and fix anything that is not done to specifications or does not function as intended.
And it's hard to tell, even on roads or anything, if anything's going to have issues within a year. So unfortunately,
typically, 1 year is a shakeout period for any building. Obviously, this is a very complex building, and it takes a long time to identify issues within the building. We have not experienced any problem with the contractor to date in not addressing issues that we have brought to their attention.
I guess you said it, though, it takes a long time to see the issues with the building, and by then the bond is gone or the warranty is gone in a year, and then we have to go into litigation with them. So, yeah. One, I don't like substantially or partial. Do you have a list of what's left that they haven't finished?
There is a list. These lists, punch lists, when we do one, they are significant documents. We're talking about maybe 30 or 40 pages of things, and it goes all the way down to in room 3264, that in the northwest corner, there's a blemish on the wall.
Okay, so they haven't, and the $150,000, once you release this, will cover all those blemishes or those things that you have left?
Yes, if there's anything. Everything that's on that punch list has been corrected as we understand it at this time, but until we have had the opportunity to, as I indicated, their long list, to make sure that they are all addressed, that does take some time for us. So.
And Mike, if we could in the future, I don't know if this is can be requested, to have more information on the list and what's left, and so when we make decisions, we have, have all the information on some of that. I guess I could call you too, but 22 department heads is hard to call in a few days. So maybe just a little bit more information on your list, or how much are left, or just a little bit more in the packet for information, if we could, Mike. I appreciate it, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mike, are you and Mike Peterson substantially satisfied that this contract is ready for substantial completion?
I can speak to my view of that. You'll have to ask Mike for his. Yes, I do believe it is, yes.
Okay.
I would not be here if I did not believe that.
I'll just throw in, I mean, yes, there's all kind of formalities. I've been very happy with Skull Construction. The building is, compared to some we've done in the past, exceptionally well done. It does take time to shake them out, and it's gone real well to this point. We have a few things left to test. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a problem with giving Skull all the money that's left. It's that good.
In talking with some of the department heads, they have a few complaints, but I think that's more with the architecture than it is the construction. Yeah. And that's not Skull's fault.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't make everybody happy.
Personally, I have no problem with Jim Skull. I just have a problem with a substantial partial contract with a warranty that's a year. So it's just me personally.
Yeah, and that is industry standard, the way that they're done.
I appreciate that, Mike.
Yeah, I would just like to say that we rely a lot on the mics. And I just want to appreciate, and I always am thankful that you keep your eye on everything, and that when you come to us, you have a very good idea of what is going on with the building. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to have the chairman sign on behalf of the county, what is it called? Certification of substantial completion.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple of questions.
Yes.
You did mention 150,000 is yet to be paid. So the 600,000 that's on here, this is history?
It is it will be after today's date, that the $450,000 will be released after today.
And I presume this document is going to be signed by the chairman. The owner is the chairman of this board?
The chairman would be the person who's authorized to sign it, yes.
As owner?
As owner, correct.
Okay. So shouldn't this form be that he's signing for 150,000 left to be paid?
We originally held, this is a timing thing, but and as I can indicate, it's more of a formality. But originally, we have held back $600,000 to make sure that any work that we had concerns about were addressed. We have reviewed enough that we are comfortable in releasing $450,000 worth of money at this time. So we are doing that.
I understand all that, but what Chairman Peterson's being asked to sign is not really accurate. And then further, it says the owner accepts the work and will assume full possession at 5 p.m. on September 15th. That was a couple of months ago. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments or questions? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
One no vote. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 25, discussion of vacation home rentals in suburban residential districts, including the definition of transfer. This is an item carried over from December 16th.
If I could, sir?
Yes.
Chairman, I'd like to continue the meeting till February 3rd, or continue this till February 3rd meeting to get with the Vacation Home Rentals Committee, have it reconvene to discuss on vacation home rentals in suburban residential districts with conditional use permits, and see if we can come to a agreement in that committee, and just have some discussion again, because I wasn't there when this all happened, and
So, Mr. Chair, I'm confused. You're gonna form a committee yourself?
No, I think there's already a committee, Nancy, isn't there?
Well, probably that's a commission decision to do that.
I apologize. I don't know how you.
Okay.
Sorry. If you have a better motion to continue it till February 3rd.
Well,
and reconvene that committee.
Mr. Chair, I guess I would like to hear from the folks who are interested in this before we take any action.
Okay.
Okay, let's come on up and identify yourself, and we'll hear your comments.
Corey Tomovic, vacation home rental owner. And also, I was on the original committee that delved into this in 2011. And I'm still wrestling with this whole issue. And I've been talking with PJ, and I've talked with Deb. Deb asked for facts, and she asked me to put together facts. And so even yesterday, I was still gathering information and met with Deb and PJ and Jay. And George Farabee also asked for facts. And so today I have the little review that I created. And I also met with Joyce Chagru, who was also on the committee, and we had a discussion. And there's still areas where I think we need to pursue a fair assessment of actually what has happened in the last 3 years with vacation home rentals in suburban residential, and also the idea of the transfer is still a conundrum, if that's the right word, that doesn't seem that it's fair. Even with what Jay came up with in amending it to be able to transfer it just to your spouse, that doesn't seem quite fair. So first of all, I know that I should have had this to you a while ago, but I just finished this review for Deb yesterday, so I want to make sure each one of you has it. And then the idea yesterday about reconvening the committee, the original committee, I think is a fair way to listen and to voice and to have all the sides heard so that you guys can make an accurate assessment. So rather than placing it on the shoulders of just planning and zoning or just the commissioners, to ask those original committee members to come forth and actually have a discussion, I think that is fair. So I'm going to give you these, and please realize this is my research, and so anyone who wants one of these, I can get them, but I've only got 5 copies today.
I guess the bottom line is I think it needs more discussion, Miss Nancy. And with being fair to both sides, I think it's nice to have both sides. And I think on that committee there was.
Mr. Chair, I totally agree with you, with her.
Well, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I don't have a problem with I don't know if you'll get all the committee together, if they're still around or what, but, you know, we went through all this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Commission voted on it. Here's the compromise is what we've got. Now, people are not satisfied with what we've got, so they want to start all over from square one again. And if that's what you guys want to do, I guess, I like the amendment that Jay drafted. I think that's what they wanted, and I think that's what we gave them. But evidently, they don't believe it, so.
I look at this, virtually adopting an ordinance is the same as adopting a statute. It's legislating. And the laws that are currently on the books as statutes are subject to change every year when the legislature convenes. And some issues have a long life, some have a short life. And the situation we're in here, my interpretation is that there's interest in amending the current ordinance, statute, whatever you want to call it, and that the process is in place, the structure is in place for that kind of action to take place. The question of how it takes place is what I see us facing today. And the thing we perhaps lose sight of is that the procedure here in the county is that if you want an amendment addressed or an ordinance addressed, a citizen has the right to pay $350 and make application, and that then has the full access to the full process. Or a commissioner can institute that same process at no expense to the taxpayer. Is that a fair assessment, Jay?
Correct.
So I think rather than discuss or argue anything about the details of what is wrong with this ordinance, I would encourage us to examine how we want to pursue this. And we have 2 options. We can say, okay, you guys get your $350 up and make your application. Or we can accommodate the process as a commission.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would prefer to accommodate this as a commission. And I do have a question. Can you tell me who was on the committee? I know, for like a public.
Joyce Shagru, Jeff Shagru, Rita Chapman, Vern.
I know, I couldn't think of
Can't remember his last name, and Gene from Rapid City.
Vern Volmer.
And Todd Tobin.
Vern Volmer.
Is that right,
Vern
Joyce?
Vollmer.
Yeah.
Thanks, George.
That's right, George.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And I don't know who calls them. I can call them, ask them, or is that P and Z, or is that role I could
You'd
play?
have Holly, probably, or PJ.
Okay.
Am I correct, Nancy?
Yep.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I think our first motion would be that I would move that the county commission review the vacation home rental ordinance. And then I'll follow that with a different.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on the motion?
On the motion. Okay.
On the motion. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
1 no vote. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, before I make my next motion, I believe there's a gentleman who wants to talk to us. About what?
About the VHR and this.
Yeah.
Identify
But
yourself,
We
please.
passed the motion.
I understand. I just wanted to make a comment if I could.
You
Would
are,
that be all
sir.
right?
Identify yourself, please.
Jeff Roller. I live at 23636 Stratable Road.
Okay.
And I'm here on behalf of Greg and Jennifer Lean, my wife Roberta, my brother-in-law Rick Canode, and Jeff and Christy Hoffman. We've all been blindsided by this more than once. When this VHR came out, Greg and Jennifer Lean didn't know what was happening until I contacted them. Several things keep popping up where we're not getting notified. I wonder, is it, I thought at the beginning that if there were going to be any major changes to our situation, since we're right in the Strata Bowl, Hoffmans have 200 acres above the Strata Bowl, they go up to the Strata Bowl rim. I thought that we were supposed to be notified when changes like this were going to occur. Now you're talking about taking a temporary conditional use permit, changing it to be transferable. That's a lot more like a business. When you build up a business, you grow it and you transfer it. It was one thing to step aside, swallow our concerns to our safety and our privacy on a temporary basis and our property values. But now, to make this to where, not even being aware, what has been the negotiations? Wouldn't somebody being right at the end of the road the one most directly affected? Do I have to, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm supposed to watch the agenda every meeting, but I thought at some point we were supposed to get notification. Our lives have changed dramatically. The traffic is up, incidents on the road are up. I get yelled at from people up on the rim. It used to be 5 cars a week coming into the bowl, and they were either there to come fish, hunt, what have you. Now we're in a situation where people are there all the time, and I'm like, it's like a fish bowl. It's not the Strata Bowl anymore. So I just wanted to make that aware, and maybe I'm out of line for bringing it up now. But I'd like everybody that's going to be affected to be notified when these changes are going to happen. And so we can prepare. I can hear all the preparation amongst all the parties, except for the ones who are in opposition. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it, because what we've heard here is nobody in the whole county has an objection to this, changing it. So that's what I've heard before.
In fact, I've heard commissioners, one commissioner at least told that there's just one family opposed.
Yeah. Well, we've heard that.
And I'm not going to come public with what we have plans. We have 2 lots down there. And I hear a lot of talk about how they just want to protect their property. Because, oh, it's historical, or oh, this, or oh, that. Private property rights and commercial property rights, I view differently. I had 12 apartments. I pay higher taxes for them. I'm under more obligations of what I do and how I operate. Went to build a business with a couple other people. Took a year to get our building designed and approved through the city. Fire sprinkler, water runoff, on, handicap access. And that's fine, we did everything. Took an extra year. But all of a sudden, I'm operating businesses and jumping all through these hoops. Then, through all those efforts, my wife and I work hard. We build some equity to have a nice residential property. There's lots of places, if I wanted to open a VHR or any other tourist business, there's plenty of property always available. But to come into, I guess it comes down to, if you cannot go down a mile and something road to a dead end, surrounded by Forest Service and a couple other houses, and you cannot get privacy there, I think you guys need to be honest with the whole county. There is no place that you cannot be subjected to expansion of tourism or a motel type operation. Combine that, the effect is not simply a VHR, and everybody keeps saying, it's just a couple VHRs. We were told there's only going to be 1 VHR per family. Now we have 2. Then you take and add in the cross promotion. The combined effects are devastating to us. There's been at least 6 incidents personally for me in the Stratable on that road. And to hear people get up here and say, well, there's never been a reported accident on the Stratable Road because there hasn't been a major accident yet. My wife has been in the ditch, run off the road by the mailman. The same mailman ran me in the ditch. We were both lucky it wasn't on one of the blind curves. You know, we come up here and we have this beautiful presentation of the widest parts of the road with 2 vehicles passing by, even one a truck. It's fraudulent not to show the blind curves. Right before Christmas, a couple, a young man and young boy come around the corner near the top. Lost control, straightened out, just luckily I was a ways from them. If that would have been the next corner, it would have been a whole different story. My Suburban was on the side. I'm just saying the safety hasn't been, you want me to cut short? Is that what you're asking?
Well, at this point.
Okay, I will. So there's lots of issues and there's more opposition that's been presented. Making this a permanent status, I'm always hearing about spot zoning. All the meetings I've been to, I hear about spot zoning. We have 75 acres that's under ag status with low taxation. Then you have 2 vacation home rentals, smack dab in the middle. I think you should, if that is such a great deal for the county and for residents, I'd like that deal. I'll start searching today. If you can say this is okay for everybody, I'll go find me 75 acres. Hopefully everybody seems to approve. I'll put my own house and a couple vacation rentals, and the whole area will be dependent on the beauty for those vacation home rentals, and I'll expect the same tax treatment.
Be sure to leave your name and address with Holly, and we'll make sure that you're noticed in terms of the activity that is ahead of us.
All right, and if I could get a copy of what Corey provided and then the negotiations as they were, I would appreciate any phone calls. I would appreciate, if there was one final thing that would really be interesting, is to take 10 vehicles, 5 at the top, 5 at the bottom, you 5 commissioners, 5 volunteers, and we start off at the same time at the top and the bottom. Do that 10 times. Try doing that a couple times a day. Add alcohol. I've never been to a wedding without alcohol.
Okay, thank you.
You can have my copy, and I'll just get another copy from someone else.
We voted on the motion?
Yep.
So where are we, do any of the commissioners have anything further on this issue?
So, Mr. Chair, I want to ask your guidance on this. I'm not sure that we would make a motion on this. Would we just direct Holly to see if those folks who were previously on the committee are willing to serve again? Or do we want to go ahead and just reactivate the committee? And if there is someone who does not want to serve again, then we would replace that person the next meeting? How do you feel is best?
I think people choose to serve or not serve based on their circumstances at any given time, and going back to determine whether or not the original committee members are willing to participate would be the first step. And then if they are, that it's a done deal. If they aren't, then we would consider staffing that committee or having it function without additional people. That'd be more or less option 2. And trying to anticipate whether or not they will, between now and the next meeting, we can find out if they would, and then decide what we have to do from there.
Okay.
Be my recommendation.
Okay.
So we didn't need a continuance date, we just need to reactivate, if we can, the committee and move forward on.
Right. So what Holly, this is my understanding of what has been said, Mr. Chairman, is that we would have Holly, we're directing Holly to check with those folks that were on that committee to see who would be willing to serve again. And then she can give us that information and we can reactivate the committee next meeting, filling any kind of open spots that there might be. Okay.
Is that the motion?
It's not a motion, it's just a direction.
Do you have to make it in a motion, or you
No.
can just give direction without motions? Okay.
Go ahead.
Joyce Shagru. I was on the original committee, and I just have a procedural question. Originally, the committee functioned under planning and zoning, and they had oversight over how, our actually chaired the previous committee with the citizen input. So am I reading you correctly that this time you're moving this up a step and it would be under the commission rather than planning and zoning involvement? They have a lot of expertise that we will need as we discuss this, especially if we have new members. So it's a procedural question. Are you changing, and it would be function under you rather than back under planning and zoning?
So, Mr. Chair, that's a very good point, Joyce. And I think that what we need before we can go further is a plan. And that's what I am looking to Holly to present. And she'll research how we handled it before, who was a part of it, what we did with notices, because I do know that notices were sent out. I'm sorry that perhaps we missed the gentleman prior to you, but I do know that we make that attempt to send those notices out. So we need to look at all of that, and Holly will come back with an idea of how we can handle this, and then we can make a decision.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask Ms. Shagru a question? Yes. What would you prefer?
I think I would like it back under planning and zoning because that's where the experts are that know the current rules and how they apply. And it's very helpful to have their input as we're discussing. Otherwise, we waste time, actually, if we don't have them available to us. I don't know that they need to chair the committee. I'm not saying that. That's Charlie chaired it the last time, and there was a lot of controversy, and I expect there will be controversy again, because as Commissioner Buskerud said, at this point you've heard one side of the story, but the other side is still out there, and you all that have been involved know that. So at the committee level, there's a lot of hashing out that goes on and compromising, and I see that occurring again. But I think I would prefer it back under planning and zoning. I don't know their opinion on it, but that worked well the last time.
Follow-up question, would you be comfortable then with planning and zoning being in the room as technical advisors and not as board members or commission members or group members, whatever?
Anyway, that we get them involved, I think. You know, I don't know that I have a strong opinion that we wanted somebody impartial the last time, and I think that would be true again, and we saw Planning Commission as impartial as the chair.
Mr. Chair,
the vice chair was a citizen.
I move that the committee be formed or reformed, whichever they prefer, basically the same members. This time with planning and zoning being the technical advisors and not full active participants. Sorry, Karen, about the length. And then if they want to add, and I'd suggest that maybe if Mr. Roller wants to be on that committee, that we add him. Be my motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
I didn't second that because I think Holly has the wisdom and the knowledge to do what's right through this committee and make it efficient without us giving more direction, George. It's not that you have a bad motion, but I think Holly's got that wisdom. So one more thing. We're not one-sided on this because we don't know, and the two staff you were looking at, they're not one-sided. I just called them for more information, kind of like when you guys have on your committee. So the Planning Department and Mr. Alderman, PJ and Alderman, were there just on my direction if I could get some help so we get both sides in what was happened before. So this isn't one-sided at all. It's being brought up again because of some of the facts and some of the things, and a review is a review. It doesn't mean it's not going to change or it is going to change. It's just a review. But again, it wasn't one-sided, and our staff is not one-sided. They're doing their job, which is telling us the information as commissioners, what has been happening before and after at this point. So I appreciated their help. Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to item 26.
Good morning, Brittany Molitor, Pennington County Planning Department. I'm presenting CS 1404, road construction within a section line. Robert Taylor Family Trust, Gary Eckert as the agent, is to construct a road within the section line right-of-way in order to provide access to a lot in section 27, Township 1 North, Range 7 East. This was previously in front of you and approved on December 2nd. They were originally going to, improve the whole portion of the section line from Moon Meadows up to, I don't know if this would point over there, to that 160-acre lot here. They have decided that they don't want to improve that whole section, that they just want to improve a portion of that section to gain access to that 160-acre lot. So that's what the request is today. Staff went out and did a site visit, and this is the, well, I got this off Google Earth so you could see it without snow. But this is Moon Meadows. That's the approach onto Mount Royal Lane. That's about 18 feet in width, and it goes up and it serves 3 residences. And that's from yesterday. That's looking towards Moon Meadows Drive, the opposite way on Mount Royal Lane. And here is the area where they want to do the proposed construction is right through here to access the lot that's behind here. This is a driveway here that's about 12 foot wide. This is the other driveway. This is the northeast lot and the northwest lot. So staff is recommending approval of the request with 11 conditions. Oh, sorry, one thing to point out too, I forgot, that they are asking to reduce the required width of the road to 14 feet from the ordinance 14 requirements of 24 feet.
So,
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So Brittany, what happens to the action we took December 2nd? Do we need to, I mean, we've given a certain direction.
Correct.
How do we take that? Do we have to dispense with that first before we can consider this?
Oh, Jay, do we need to?
Mr. Chair, may I put that in a different way? Is this a reconsideration, Jay?
I would say at this point, it's probably not a reconsideration because the rule on reconsideration was not activated, so I would say it'd be more like a rescission. You'd rescind the prior order, which you could do today, and take this up if it's this is a brand-new request that reduces the permit authority, if you will, from what was previously granted. Is that
Yes.
I understand it correctly?
Yes, they approved the original request with 8 conditions on December 2nd. So they would have to.
And just to make it clear, the proponent of this, or the applicant, may want to consider that if we rescind the one, I don't mean we're going to pass the next one. So we may end up with nothing.
Correct.
Hope he knows that.
Could we all agree, Mr. Chair, that something has to be done with the act that this board took on December 2nd? That has to be dispensed with first?
Before we discuss more.
Would you repeat your question?
Sorry. As I understand it, we need to do something with what this board did on December 2nd before we can move forward. This board on December 2nd approved the application, and now they want to change that application, so don't we have to go back now and do or undo or whatever what this board decided on December 2nd?
And then this is the new request.
I think that's what Jay indicated.
I would agree with that. It sounds like you have to undo the prior action. You don't have the luxury of reconsidering it, given the circumstances, but you could rescind it.
And how do we do that?
I believe you would have to rescind it with a 2/3 vote, so 4 of you would have to agree to rescind the prior motion.
And if we didn't rescind it, it'd stay the
It
same as
stays.
it was. Okay.
And then so then if we don't rescind it, can we even consider, because we're stacking one on top of the other? I mean, I don't see how you can have two basically the same things, just with different distances.
Mr. Chair, I would agree with Commissioner Troutman's assessment.
Did you have comments, sir?
Sorry.
I'm Tom Rao with RE/MAX, and I'm representing the seller in this case. And the original agreement, which you weren't privy to, but the original agreement between the buyer and the seller was the approval of this commission from the end of Mount Royal Lane to extend that road to provide access to the property that is being sold. And it's not 160 acres that we're providing access to, it's 55 acres. It would be the southwest 40 of that 160, and then there's an adjacent 15 going to the north of that. So it is a 55-acre parcel that they're providing access to for a single residence. It's not for multiple residents. I don't think if you looked at the topographic maps on this that if it was to the 160 and even be further subdivided, that you couldn't extend that road to the north, you couldn't extend it to the east because this is on a plateau situation up here. So the original intent of this was to extend Mount Royal Lane or provide access to that from the end of where it is right now to the section line to provide access to a 55-acre parcel. And, you know, if it's 14 feet is the request, you know, right now, if that width from that point has to be there, or if it changes, if it's further subdivided, you know, then we'd come back in, but we're providing a driveway from the end of where Mount Royal Lane is to this parcel is what we're looking for, so.
Okay, any questions?
So you're saying we have to, the road's about 18 foot right now, isn't it, at the beginning, Miss Brittany? And it goes to about 10, 12 feet?
Yes, at the driveways, it's about 12 feet. But if you look, you can kind of see, sorry, where they were driving, you can kind of see where there's been driving through there.
I drove it this morning, but, so they would have to make it 24 to 20, all the way from the beginning of Mount Royal, all the way to their driveway, 24 feet.
Right,
Well,
this
until they
would
got
be
to their driveway.
improved 24 feet all the way here, all the way to the top of that access there. And
Okay.
did they, Tom, excuse me, did they subdivide this, or did they do?
No, it's gonna be eloquently described,
Okay.
right? And so it's ending up to be 55 acres, and the reason that they're adding limiting it to the north 15 acres, adjoining that 40 acres of that southwest quarter, is so it doesn't interfere with Mr. Eckert's dam that he has at the bottom for his cattle. That is going to stay intact. So that was the limit of the amount of ground that he was willing to part with.
I don't know. So Lindell, do we have to make a motion? Should I quit discussing until we make a motion on what we're supposed to do with the first December 2nd?
That's my understanding, yes.
Do I need to make a motion to rescind, sir?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to rescind the action of December 2nd. Any discussion further?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the piece of paper I have says that Gary Eckert is the agent, and I don't believe he's here.
No.
Does anybody else in the audience want to comment before we vote? I'm looking at the engineering firm. John, do you want to comment first?
John Van Beek with Ferber Engineering Company. I was involved and helped prepare both of the applications that are before you, and I guess the action that needs to happen is to rescind what was there before. It was quite honestly a communication error on my part in terms of what the intent was between buyer and seller. And so what came before you before in December was not the desire and what was agreed to between the two parties. I guess no other comment on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just want for clarification that was CS 1403.
Okay, we include that in the motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? It does require a 2/3 vote. All in favor, we'll do a roll call.
Buskerud?
Yes.
Farabee?
Yes.
Adcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, now, do we need further discussion on the proposal in front of us at the present time?
Well, I drove the road, and I can tell you 14 foot is not wide enough for that road when you start subdividing that many lots. You can put one car in there and two cars if you drive that, even when it's icy, is not good. And it goes into about 10, 12 feet of road. It doesn't even go into 14 feet past that house at all. And I know they'll have to put 14 feet, but road standards are 24 feet. And once you start subdividing, I think you're creating many lots. If it was a private drive, it'd be different. But that's it's a, what do you call it, section line, which means many of those lots going out north could be subdivided, and that road will start at 14 or start at 18 and go to 14 all the way down. Plus, there's a road at the top of that hill where they're gonna, not a road, a hill on the top of that road, that if they add more lots and stuff there, I think that's pretty dangerous at 14 feet. So Brittany, do you have any explanation why you didn't put it 24 feet? And you guys agreed at 14 feet?
Well, I did not know that it was to access 55 feet. My understanding was that that was a 160-acre parcel that they were accessing. I didn't know that they were eloquently describing that down. I did indicate in the staff report that it is zoned suburban residential, so they could further subdivide that. It would have to be further subdivided through the City of Rapid City's 3-mile jurisdiction, plating jurisdiction. So any road improvements to Mount Royal Lane would have to be done through that plating request.
And how many people, that would include all those residents coming back and being charged for a road, am I right? Or is it the last person that builds it has to build the whole road?
I don't know how the City of Rapid City, through their plating, I don't know how they do, I'm sure that they do some kind of bonding and things, and I'm not sure if who's responsible.
Again, we're providing access for one residence that's going on the 55-acre parcel. It's not being subdivided into further lots. If it came back in and that was to be subdivided into further lots, as Brittany said, you're gonna have to come back through the City of Rapid City and get all of their standards in for road improvement. And I would tell you that the person that is going through, if in fact, you know, Joe Muth is in the audience representing the buyer, their intent at this point is to have it for one single residence. If they come back in and want to further subdivide, whoever is doing the subdividing is going to have to do the improvement to the road of whatever, and you're not going to have assessment projects coming back into the people that are along that, you know, the 3 residents that are there that access off of Mount Royal Lane.
So basically what you're saying is so everybody that comes out there should build a 14-foot road, whether it's subdivided, unless, what if he goes to the left and doesn't go on your parcel to the right? Is that a different parcel? And we can keep adding more people. There's already 3 out there is what I'm saying. So now you have 4 residents on the same road.
Well, at the very least, and Joe, I don't know if you want to speak to this, but at the very, you know, I would say if you want to change the width of that road from where it ends right now and to access this to 18 feet, 24 feet, whatever it is, you know, that's fine. You know, rather than going all the way back out to Moon Meadows to improve a road that's already there that's 18 feet. So you choose the width that you're comfortable with. But the point is, the agreement between the parties was from where it ends right now to extend it to the property. So if the request was 14, if you feel it should be 18 or 24.
Well, Brittany, when you first put a parcel there, it's 14 feet when they go to their house. Am I correct, Brittany?
The driveways.
You mean right in
Like
this
if that
area?
was just one parcel coming in, the first one that got there, it was 18 to 14 feet, right?
Typically, and PJ had stated that the Planning Commission typically approves 16 to 18 feet for access they have in the past.
Okay, and then the access is the 18-foot that's there, and then the road is what?
Well, the ordinance 14 standards requires 24 feet. Any deviation from that standard has to be approved by the board.
So you guys have made you guys are agreeing that this 14-foot from the beginning, when they started this all the way to the end, was okay. The 24-foot didn't need to be in this area because it could have stipulations and be safe.
The request at hand is, and that's accurate, yes. per their request of what they're looking to do, 14 feet would be acceptable.
And that road would have no safety factor at 14 feet?
Not a safety expert, can answer that.
Okay, but you are approving 3 or 4 residences on there?
Recommending it.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, did you want to comment, sir?
I was just going to explain the 14-foot request. It's because the existing road, as you pointed out there, is 14 feet wide now, serving 3 pieces, to serve a 4th to the north, where there would only be 1 residence accessing on it. That's the reason for the 14-foot request from there on.
So we set a precedence, basically, with a 14-foot road, and now to kind of go back and change it would almost be ridiculous.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think, to me, there's a larger issue involved, and that's what the law says about section lines. This is not a road out across your pasture or my pasture or somebody's subdivision. This is a section line highway. And until we get up to speed, I think there's a lot of case law probably on section lines, and Jay and I and others going to need to read that. So I'd make a motion to continue this item until we've done some research on what the law allows, and not talking about case law, not just legislative law, but case law says about section line highways. That'd be my motion. Continue until we get some more knowledge of what we can do and can't do.
Just a moment. Jay, you.
Mr. Chair, just very briefly, every section line is 66 foot. With 33 feet on either side, and the adjoining landowners or adjacent landowners own to the center of it. And it's held in trust by the public body for public use. The public use in the world of case law and so forth that I'm aware of allows those section lines to be opened. And Pennington County has, as you heard, Ordinance 14, which is, for lack of a better way to articulate it, when a pre-existing just line on a map is just there. It's just grass and dirt and rocks. When you're going to open it for public purposes, there's a overriding trust obligation on the county in this case to make sure that that road is opened in a fair and safe manner and so forth. That's why we have Ordinance 14. I'm not aware of any prohibition to a county to open it to a certain width. By law, you could open it to 66 feet because it's there. But I don't think you have to open it to 66 feet. You can open it to 2 feet, 8 feet, 14, 24, and so forth. So I guess it's my way of saying it's up to you. You can do 66 feet, you can do something less than that, but the whole point is you're trying to do something fair and safe for public travel, because it is a public road, it's not private.
Could I also comment that if you go back, what is this, the county ordinance is 24 feet? Is that what your standard is?
Ordinance 14.
Yeah, so if you approve it from that point forward to the end of being 24 feet, to me, that seems to be reasonable because that's your ordinance that you have. I mean, if it's, the request is 14, but if you go to 24, do you have any concerns with that, Joe? Joe, I mean, his buyer doesn't have any concerns with that. So if we, from where it currently ends to that point, if you approve it to be 24-foot width, which is what your ordinance is, I don't know why that wouldn't be a reasonable request.
Mr. Chair, let me restate my motion.
I disagree. I don't think it's reasonable at all. You got 24 feet coming down to 14 feet. The 24 feet does you absolutely no good.
Right.
So either you're going to have 24 feet the whole way, or you just well let them have 14 feet. Because to bottleneck it doesn't mean anything. I think what our thinking was when we approved 14 feet was if there's any subdividing going on, which will cause a major problem,
right.
It'll be the city's problem, not ours.
Right.
Wow.
Because they're the one going to look at the subdivision, not us.
Yeah, I mean, so it's really the extension of a private driveway up to that point, but.
Well, and I agree on, you got 14 to 14, I'm not gonna, well, me personally, not gonna make you do 24 now, but I would hope we don't do any precedents in the future. If it starts at 14, I will probably disagree next time. And by the way, Brittany and PJ, thanks for all your work on this. PJ met with me and George, and boy, that was a little bit of a printing off stuff and doing things that we really appreciated yesterday. So thank you for your time as well, Brittany. But I'm in agreement with Mr. Buskerud. You can't, it's just silly to go from 14 to 24 unless it was close enough where the improvement was, you know, not far enough to cost.
I agree. I think it should be 24 feet, but it seems to me a waste of money to make this gentleman do it when he may be doing it someday anyway.
He's paying for it, though. Just kidding.
But he's agreeing to do it, so I guess we can make him do it.
So, Mr. Chair, I still, I guess where it lies currently, that is the end of Mount Royal Lane?
Right in this area, and then these two are driveways.
Okay. So we're going to go right straight out. Are we not extending a street?
It's
not really a
approximately right
driveway.
there.
We're extending a street. And I just think that needs to be noted.
Mr. Chair, once again, this is a section line. This is not a road out across your pasture or my pasture. This is a section line, and I think, and let me back and say, what this board approved on December 2nd was ordinance 14 standards, if I read the minutes right. You folks approved a ordinance 14 standard road, okay? Which I'd have no problem with. That's what the ordinance says, and that to me is a safe road. But now, the big question to me is this is, like say, a section line highway, and that 66 feet belongs to all of us. And if we build a road or allow a road to be built that's unsafe and somebody gets hurt, we got a liability issue. So until we do some research, and that's why I made my motion to continue this thing until we get some more knowledge. This is not going to be the last time this comes up. There's other section lines, especially in the hills, where it's just like this situation. And this is a hell of a precedent, a horrible precedent to set until we get more knowledge. So my motion stands. Let's continue it until we get more knowledge.
I would suggest that I understand what you're saying, but the Mount Royal Lane already exists in the section line at 14 feet. So extending it any further at 14 feet doesn't increase anybody's liability except
people live there.
Wherever you say the bomb hit. But so,
Mr. Chair, may I ask of the highway, is there any history at all of when that road went in? Was it approved by any government, or did it just get put in? What's there currently is just a flat spot with some gravel on it to me, without any really road work, just gravel.
Tom Wilsey with the Highway Department. We could not find when this was built with our limited information we've got.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm sure this was built before Ordinance 14 was even adopted. It's been there that long.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments on this issue?
Chairman, I just have a couple comments. Previously, the Planning Commission, I said 16 feet, it was 18 feet. And also the reason that I was recommending approval is the Highway Department was not opposed to granting the 14 feet. So I took their comments into consideration.
Was there any consideration on the 160 acres brought down to 55? Is there any other, does this have to run through anything again because of the acreage?
Now, as far as doing the eloquent portions in the 3 mile, I don't know, can they? Yeah, it's up to the city. It's in their platting jurisdiction. I don't know how we allow that, but I don't know how they do that. I wasn't aware of that.
Thank you.
Comment on that. We've gone through with the title company, has discussed that with Vicki Fisher at the planning department in Rapid City, and she's also discussed it with Donna Mayer at the Register of Deeds, and they don't have a problem with the 55 acres.
Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Okay, anything further? Do we have a motion?
We need a second.
Second.
You're seconding? Yeah.
What was your motion?
Well, does George,
My motion still stands. Nobody seconded it, and I guess it hasn't, you haven't.
And I declared it died for lack of a
Okay,
second.
all right. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. My apologies.
So, do we have a motion?
I thought we did. No? Didn't you have a motion, Nancy?
no, I thought George's had not been seconded. I thought we were discussing that. I'm sorry.
No, I declared it died for lack of a second, and
So if we had a motion, Brittany, what's a motion?
The motion is to approve CS 1404 to construct a road within the section line right-of-way, which includes constructing a turnaround or constructing a 14-foot road within the section line right-of-way, CS 1404, which includes constructing a turnaround with 11 conditions.
That'd be my motion.
there's a second.
I'll second it for purpose of discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
So are we back to 14 feet?
Yep.
I was about ready to make a motion for 24 and tell them, be careful, guys, you pulled defeat out of the jaws of victory, but I guess I'll go on 14 feet. I don't care.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well, let me state again, if we approve this, we're setting a precedent. That's not going to be nice. It's going to cause us problems. No, this is not going to be not the first time and not going to be the last time that section line is going to want to be opened up, part of it, in the hills. And now you got a precedent you're going to have to live with. Obviously, I'll be voting no.
So, what's your perspective on the existing 14 feet that's on the same section line?
Well, there's a phrase called legal nonconforming, and that's why I asked the highway if there's any history at all. Obviously, you and I can go out. I've got 4 section lines in my place. I can go out and put some gravel on them. As long as I don't go and do any dirt work, I guess that's my business. That's probably what happened 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. Some people built 3 houses out there. I don't know when they were built, but quite a while ago. They were built out there, and obviously they made an approach off of Moon Meadows Road and put some gravel down and then accessed their places. We can't undo the past, but let's not continue the mistake. We need to find out what the law says about section line highways. There's no question in anybody's mind that section lines belong to all of us. And if somebody gets hurt out there, being invited onto that section line by some dirt work, and something happens, then we're liable because we approved it. As it is now, I don't think, of course, courts can rule the way they want to rule. But what's there now is basically just nature with a little gravel on it. I didn't see any sign of any, did you see any sign of any dirt work, Deb?
No.
It was just what nature provided with some gravel. Basically unimproved. It's basically an unimproved section line right now. Well, we go improving it. We approve improving that. Now we're holding ourselves liable if somebody gets hurt.
So you're saying improving by making the whole thing 24 foot or not do it at all?
If we don't approve it to the recognized safety standards that's been laid down by the feds and the state and the county has its own set of standards, which apparently, well, to me, are good. And I'm sure the engineer would say that they're good safety standards. You can't avoid all accidents, obviously. You can't protect everybody from himself. But that 24 road surface with the ditches, 2 feet ditches, and in-slope, back-slope, and 6 inches of gravel, it'd be pretty hard for somebody to say it was the government's fault for providing a bad road. That's where I'm coming from. If the guy says, damn it, let's go back to the city. The city got sued for how many $1 million down here at Canyon Lake? Because a couple of kids drove off of, the road was designed, I'm sure people remember it a lot better than I do, but the city cost a couple $1 million for somebody drove off the road down by Canyon Lake, and the person was by paraplegic or whatever. So if we start approving, we the government start approving any construction, then it has to meet some reasonable safety standards, and this doesn't.
Okay, let's, any further discussion on the motion? We'll have a roll call vote.
Buskerud?
Yes.
Farabee?
No.
Adcock?
Yes.
Troutman?
No.
Peterson?
Yes. Motion carried. PJ?
Mr. Chairman, PJ Conover, Director of Planning Department, if you just have about 30 seconds of your time to introduce the newest member of the Planning Department. This is Colin Hensley, hired on just a little over a week ago. He's a planner one in our department. Just transferred out of the military as a captain, served 6 years in the Army, did tours in Afghanistan and Iraq as a logistics operations officer, has a degree in physical geography from California State, Northridge, and used to reside in Colorado. Now he resides in Rapid City, and we're very excited to have him as part of our team, and we look for good things from him.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for serving, Colin, as well. We appreciate that. You ready to do some planning and some fighting with, just kidding. This might be worse than the Army. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you, Colin.
Thank you.
In staffing your department, is it a requirement that all of your new hires be taller than yourself?
Yes. Creating a basketball team.
There you go.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next item is items from the chair. And I'm not sure if all of you received the communication from Denise Sattler relative to dogs barking, but I did receive this and talked with Mrs. Sattler yesterday by phone and told her that if you, that this would be brought to the attention of the commission, and if the commission agreed that we would put the item on the agenda of the next meeting.
That would be fine. That would be my motion, to put it on the agenda for the next meeting for discussion.
Is there a second?
Second, Chair.
Seconded by Commissioner Buskerud. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion carried. Committee reports, I doubt if any of us have met with our committee since New Year's Eve. But, and also, we will be going through the process of designating committees. I think Holly has responses. And when do we process those?
I will work with the chairman, and they will be presented at the next meeting.
Okay. Items from the public. Anyone from the public wish to address the commission?
My name is Gail Jorgensen. First of all, I want to congratulate our two new commissioners, Deb and George, and welcome the three incumbents back. What I wanted to speak on today is your microphones. We had the same problem at the other office. I'd like you to look into getting either lapel mics or head mics so we can hear in the back. I'm a little hard of hearing, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's my age, but I'm not bad enough that I need hearing aids. But when you're talking here, you'll be talking and you turn away to talk to someone else, and you lose it all.
Sure.
And it just, Ron's, for example, he keeps his about 2 feet away, and you can't hear hardly anything he says. And, you know, it's just something that I'm not disabled, so I'm not really asking for anything special for me, but I'd like to see you look into it for the public.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved?
Second?
Motion and a second. All
What
in
what
favor,
we go-
say aye.
what are we going in for? Personnel or contract or finance or?
Going into for contractual and pending litigation.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. No, third. That's out of order.
Oh,
Second and
got to make a motion to come out of executive session?
Second.
Okay.
They're already going
Motion to
without
adjourn.
this, so.
We're done.
Aye. Okay, motion to adjourn.
We had the motion to adjourn executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next motion.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
We made it through the first